In the late 7th century BC, Judah stood on the edge of disaster. Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar, was rising fast and the old world order was collapsing. Judah, the last remnant of David's kingdom, was caught between Egypt's ambitions and Babylon's might. The prophets had warned, the covenant with Yahweh demanded loyalty and justice, but Judah had turned away, especially under King Manasseh's corrupt reign. King Jehoiakim, installed by Egypt, tried to play both sides. After Babylon crushed Egypt at Carchemish, he switched allegiance and paid tribute to Nebuchadnezzar. But the burden of tribute and wounded pride led Jehoiakim to rebel after 3 years, betting Babylon would ignore a small kingdom's defiance. It was a fatal miscalculation. Nebuchadnezzar's response was swift and merciless. The storm was no longer on the horizon. It was bearing down on Jerusalem. Judah's fate now hung by a thread, the nation's survival uncertain. This was more than politics. It was a spiritual reckoning, the result of generations ignoring prophetic warnings. The sins of the past had come due, and the consequences would reshape Judah forever. The world was changing, and Judah was at the center of the storm. The story of armies and kings was also the story of a people and their God. The final act for Judah was about to begin. The fate of a nation would be decided not just by swords, but by the weight of its own history. Nebuchadnezzar didn't invade immediately. Instead, he sent waves of raiders, Babylonians, Arameans, Moabites, and Ammonites, to torment Judah. Farms burned, villages were plundered, and terror became daily life. This was a war of attrition designed to break Judah's spirit. The Bible is clear. This was divine judgment for the sins of Manasseh and the nation's long rebellion. Jehoiakim, who had shed innocent blood, now faced the violence he had helped sow. His end was ignoble, likely killed or cast out, as Jeremiah had warned. His gamble on rebellion left Judah weaker and more vulnerable than ever. The throne passed to his young son, but the real crisis was just beginning. The Babylonian army was finally on the march toward Jerusalem. Jehoiachin, just 18, inherited a kingdom in ruins. His reign lasted only 3 months before Babylon's full might besieged Jerusalem. Facing starvation and destruction, Jehoiachin surrendered to Nebuchadnezzar. The king, his family, officials, and 10,000 of Judah's elite were exiled to Babylon. Craftsmen, soldiers, and leaders all gone. Only the poorest remained. The treasures of the temple and palace were plundered, sacred objects destroyed. This was more than defeat. It was humiliation, proof to many that Yahweh had abandoned his people. Judah was left a hollow shell, stripped of its leaders, wealth, and hope. The first great exile had begun, and the nation's future was in question. Babylon's message was clear: resistance was futile. Jerusalem's heart had been ripped out. Nebuchadnezzar installed Zedekiah, Jehoiachin's uncle, as a puppet king over a broken Judah. Zedekiah ruled a traumatized, impoverished people, his authority always in doubt. The real king, many believed, was Jehoiachin in Babylon. Zedekiah was torn, sworn to Babylon, pressured by nationalists to rebel, and haunted by prophetic warnings. He wavered, unable to lead or unite his people. The Bible's verdict: he did evil, ignoring Jeremiah's counsel and failing to turn Judah back to God. His indecision and weakness sealed Judah's doom. The final rebellion would bring utter destruction. The end of Jerusalem and its temple was now inevitable. 2 Kings 24 is a story of judgment, national failure, exile, and the collapse of a covenant. The suffering was the price of generations of rebellion, but even in darkness, hope flickered. The failed kings of Judah created a longing for a true, righteous king, a Messiah. Jehoiachin's survival in Babylon preserved the Davidic line, keeping God's promise alive. The royal flame endured even in exile, pointing to future restoration. The story's darkness became the backdrop for the coming of Jesus Christ, the perfect King. Out of judgment and loss, the promise of salvation would one day shine. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.